Harbaugh talking over the weekend about the lack of a new deal still for his franchise QB.
He's hopeful to get a new contract. We're hopeful to get him a new contract. But all the rest of it is business. I mean, there's nothing other than coming to something that's mutually agreeable. That's the way all these deals are done, So, obviously I'm very hopeful, and I think I know everybody's really hopeful to get it done. My interactions with Lamar have been all football, and he's been focused and locked in on that 100% from a football standpoint.
Oh, what an excellent answer to a question, right? I mean, you can't handle that as a head coach any better than he did. But finally, from a situation where there has been no information coming out, Dan, you actually have some that I think is really interesting about just how in sync these two sides feel, even though they can't work out a deal.
Right. I think people would make a mistake to think that because the contract isn't done, there's some issue with the relationship between player and team. There's not. To the point where I've been told by people there that Lamar Jackson, has actually had conversations with John Harbaugh, with the GM Eric DeCosta, about their press conferences and what they're going to say and how to stay on message with all this. So, look, they disagree on the contract. He wants more guaranteed money than they're willing to give him. I think we've reached that point, and I don't know. You say we're inching closer to his deadline. We may already be there. They have a practice tomorrow. Like that's the regular season. He may want this out. He no agent, so he has to negotiate this himself while he plays. He doesn't want to do that. So, but I think he's okay with this not getting done now and going into next spring and picking this up again. That's a key part of his negotiating leverage is that he's okay with that.
So all of the stuff that we've seen on social media the last couple of weeks, the tweets, the no they didn't, that did not indicate or was not a real indicator that he's unhappy.
I think he's trying to have some fun with us all. I think he enjoys that people would react that way to this stuff.
You got a little Aaron Rodgers troll going on?
Yeah, with us? a little more lighthearted maybe than that. But
that's true. Good point.
So Bartholomew, again, another one of your former team, the Ravens here and all the rest of that. Lamar's going to go out there. Somewhere along the line, they can be talking about what we're going to say in the press conference. At the end of the day, if we don't have a deal, because I'm not giving you as much money or whatever it is you think you deserve, and I'm still asking you to be my entire football team, that feels like a problem waiting to happen to me.
It's not. I'm telling you, Baltimore's a unique place. I mean, I witnessed Ray Lewis go through this where he held out, Peter Bower held out. The relationship still was fine. They understand that you can separate the business. John Harbaugh has nothing to do with the direct, contract negotiations with Lamar Jackson. So that relationship with him and his teammates are just fine. I was with Joe Flacco. I interviewed Joe Flacco yesterday, who was in a similar position. He thought the Ravens thought his value was one thing. He thought his value was another. Well, it was like, okay, well, go prove to me. Well, the big knock on Lamar Jackson is that the fact that he maybe can't stay healthy, right? And last year is an indication that maybe, the injury, even though it wasn't a big-time injury from being hit, it was a high ankle sprain. But, if he wants to go out and prove himself, he can try and harness his inner Joe Flacco. What did Joe Flacco do when he was up for contract negotiation? He won the Super Bowl, won the MVP, got the Corvette, and he had the leverage. And once Lamar Jackson's able to get that type of leverage, he can get the bag. It's ways for him to protect himself.
Jeff's not buying it.
You can protect yourself.
You're not buying
it.
So
listen to me. I agree. I think Lamar right now is in a great place, great headspace, all that kind of stuff. Your body starts getting banged around, you start getting smacked around, and you're looking at $23 million as opposed to $230 million. I'm letting you know it will get frustrating for Lamar Jackson. We can talk about how nice everybody is. At the bottom line, the Ravens are telling you by their silence, we don't think you're worth what you think you're worth. Bottom line, however you want to, okay, so I'm not worth what you think I am. At some point, when my body starts to take the toll, DeCosta ain't out there getting hit, Harbaugh ain't there getting hit, nobody's getting hit except for me, and I'm the guy waiting on the cash in the bag. And listen, he's already proved what Flacco had not. He's already been an MVP. He's done the things already for this team, and their whole offense, Bart, is designed around he and his skill set. So unless they're going to take it and veer it completely opposite, it's just
Allen's can be.
A lot of life in those statements.
That's what what do we take away from that? And most importantly, because he can live his life however he sees fit, obviously, how, if at all, do you see what he just said impacting his ability to be all in on a football season?
Zero. It will not affect it even a little bit when he hits the field. listen, I appreciate him being honest and open about his life and all the things that are coming in and being involved, whatever that is, right? That was a long statement, but the reality is he understands when he hits the field how to take this football team to the level he wants to take it to. The distractions that people talk about, film study, will he be locked in when he's on the field? When he walks on the field, man, all that stuff goes away. He is so dialed in. He understands what needs to happen. The preparation part, he can become more efficient with that if he feels like that's necessary. I'm doubting any of that applies at all to him. He will be just fine. This football team will be just fine. It's just something that happened during training camp, and he had to address it.
Dan, you made an interesting point this morning as we were talking before we came on the air, which is we're always trying to figure out which thing is going to take down Brady. And none of them ever have before.
We've given up on that.
You don't think it's going to be this one either?
No, I don't think it. Look, I mean, at some point, he won't be able to play quarterback in the NFL anymore. But he led the league in passing yards last year. I don't think now is that point. And look, I think we hear him on the podcast talking about whatever's going on. He's working some stuff out. It seems like that's an outlet for him, right, to deal with whatever he's dealing with. But when you talk to people around that team and in that building, he's the same guy. Like he has been the same since he got there. And since he got back from whatever he was doing in training camp, he locked in on the field, locked in the meetings, just like being the Tom Brady that they know and need him to be. So I'm with Jeff. I don't think it's going to be if they play badly, if he plays badly, I don't think it's going to be because of this.
Well, I don't know that there's anyone who went head-to-head against Tom Brady more frequently in their career than you, Bart, playing both in Baltimore. But he was on the offensive side. I mean, you're going directly up against him in your years in Baltimore, all those great games, your years in the Jets in the same division. I mean, what is your sense of this? Brady, what makes him great is his ability to be completely focused and locked in. Are you at all concerned about that?
Not at all, because to Jeff's point and to Dan's point, athletes, the building is our sanctuary.
That's right.
When we get in there, nothing matters but football. What's the task at hand? Guys have dealt with all kind of issues outside of the building. But when you come in that building, you're locked in. You're around your brothers. You have all the support you need to be the best version of yourself. My biggest concern is that offensive line. The pressure. And also the fact that I believe that the New Orleans Saints are the better team within the division. And that's going to be what really upsets him. Can him and Todd Bowles come together, be a cohesive unit? It's a lot of moving parts in that regard. If anything takes him down, it's going to be a football issue. It's not going to be a non-football issue.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to say that Bart just said, it really struck with me. The uniqueness of a locker room and the ability to block out all the other factors in your life. It's like no other. It's not like other jobs where your phone's ringing or somebody. I mean, when I tell you it is laser focused and it just, for whatever reason, it totally takes you in a different mindset.
Well, and so it's easy to understand why the balance in work-life balance becomes more complicated and why he might not have felt he could manage it. Now, obviously, he's in.
We've all
Bart just brought up the offensive line.
Yeah.
That's the obvious. That's the most obvious pressing question. You're an offensive line expert. How worried are we?
Concerned, not worried. Left guard for me is going to be an issue. Their center will be just fine. Mason at right guard will be just fine. The left guard, they will have some issues trying to figure this out. But here's the deal. You got a guy's 45 years old. He's played, 20 plus years in the NFL. He understands how to manipulate the pocket and how to get help where he needs it. If he feels he needs it, it will not be an issue that will cost him this season.
All right, so that's the Brady of it all. Buccaneers open with a monster game Sunday night against the Dallas Cowboys. A few people may watch that. In the meantime, our next stop is Baltimore, where we are inching closer to Lamar Jackson's self-imposed contract deadline. Ravens begin their season, of course, on Sunday. I want you to hear John Harbaugh talking over the weekend about the lack of a new deal still for his franchise QB.
He's hopeful to get a new contract. We're hopeful to get him a new contract. But all the rest of it is business. I mean, there's nothing other than coming to something that's mutually agreeable. That's the way all these deals are done, So, obviously I'm very hopeful, and I know everybody's really hopeful to get it done. My interactions with Lamar have been all football, and he's been focused and locked in on that 100% from a football standpoint.
Oh, what an excellent answer to a question, right? I mean, you can't handle that as a head coach any better than he did. But finally, from a situation where there has been no information coming out. Dan, you actually have some that I think is really interesting about just how in sync these two sides feel, even though they can't work out a deal.
Right. I think people would make a mistake to think that because the contract isn't done, there's some issue with the relationship between player and team. There's not. To the point where I've been told by people there that Lamar Jackson has actually had conversations with John Harbaugh, with the GM Eric DeCosta, about their press conferences and what they're going to say and how to stay on message with all this. So, look, they disagree on the contract. He wants more guaranteed money than they're willing to give him. I think we've reached that point, and I don't know. You say we're inching closer to his deadline. We may already be there. They have a practice tomorrow. Like that's the regular season. He may want this out. He no agent, so he has to negotiate this himself while he plays. He doesn't want to do that.